Michael had no one else to rely on but me when he ran away from home when he was young, because his parents disapproved him of pursuing music. I married him knowing exactly what I was getting into. I was determined to support him for the rest of my life. But when Michael finally came back after a long time, he plopped down on the couch and said something surprising.
Let's divorce. I'm remarrying my lover. I won't ever see you or our daughter again.
What? As I cut ties with Michael and spent peaceful days with my daughter, a year passed before I knew it.
Hey, Ashley. Daddy's back. Wow, you've grown so much.
For a brief moment, Ashley looked at Michael with a surprised expression, but that quickly turned into pure hatred.
Well, who are you?
Huh?
I said, who on earth are you?
Even I, her mother, had never seen Ashley like this before. Michael seemed taken aback by her hostility.
What do you mean? I'm your dad.
I don't have a dad.
My name is Catherine Adams. I'm a 38-year-old working mom. I've been married to my husband, Michael, for 13 years. Our daughter, Ashley, who was the reason we got married in the first place, is now 13 years old. For the past 13 years, I've been juggling work while supporting Michael's music career and raising Ashley. It felt like time flew by in the blink of an eye. To be honest, I barely had any time for myself. I met Michael at a jazz bar. Back then, jazz felt a bit too sophisticated for me, and I had never really gone out of my way to listen to it. But when my best friend, Megan, dragged me to that bar, I was completely mesmerized. No, more accurately, I was mesmerized by Michael. Watching him passionately play the bass, he looked absolutely radiant. From that night on, I started looking up his performance schedule and frequently went to the jazz bar. Sometimes with Megan, sometimes alone. It was a small bar. After going a few times, I started recognizing familiar faces, and eventually, I got to know Michael and his bandmates. After their performances, we would often grab drinks together. Then, one night, I missed the last train home. Michael invited me over to his place. I still remember how my heart felt like it was about to burst from a mix of nerves and excitement, being alone with the man I admired so much. Probably that night, Ashley was conceived. From that point on, Michael and I got closer fast, and we started going back and forth between each other's apartments. I had moved out of my parents' house when I started college and had been living on my own. A while later, I noticed changes in my body and went to a maternity clinic alone. That's when I found out I was pregnant. Looking back now, I can't help but be amazed at the strength of women. Even though I was completely in love with Michael, I was already making plans for how to raise our child. Michael was still trying to make a name for himself as a musician, so I knew I couldn't count on his income. That meant I had to keep working. I would also need my parents' support. I started making plans in my head. Of course, I had some vague anxieties, but above all, I was genuinely happy to be carrying Michael's child. I was sure Michael would be happy too. I also hoped this would give him motivation for the future, so I had no hesitation in telling him, "I'm pregnant." But when I invited Michael over to talk, he just sat there smoking a cigarette with a troubled look on his face.
Wait, seriously.
That was all he said before falling into silence. His reaction was completely unexpected. Still, I understood why he was in shock. It's surprising, right? I was shocked too. I couldn't take the silence anymore, so I was the one to break it. Even then, Michael remained silent for a long time. And then, muttering bitterly, he said,
I can't do this.
"What?"
I want to continue music, but I have no money. I can't have a kid.
I knew how important music was to Michael. That was the man I had fallen for. And I was fully aware that he wasn't financially stable. I'll work too. We'll figure it out. Michael, your life might change a little, but you can still keep doing music.
What do you mean a little? I don't do things halfway. And besides, how do I even know it's mine?
I suddenly felt nauseous at Michael's words and rushed to the bathroom. I wasn't sure if it was morning sickness or just my reaction to what he said. But as I threw up, I cried uncontrollably. When I returned to the room, Michael had already lit his second cigarette, exhaling the smoke with an irritated expression. "Could you stop smoking? It's not good for the baby." That seemed to annoy him even more. He angrily put out his cigarette and stood up.
This is such a pain. I'm out of here.
"Wait, we still need to." Before I could finish, he yanked open the door and stormed out, not even bothering to put his shoes on properly. I just stood there, staring blankly at him leaving. A few days later, Megan invited me out for lunch. I wasn't really in the mood, but I decided to go since I wanted to tell her about the pregnancy. It was a beautifully sunny day. We got a table on the garden terrace. Megan ordered a lunch plate, while I, having no appetite, just got a salad.
No appetite? That's unusual. You usually eat more than me.
Do I? I think you still beat me though. I tried to laugh it off, but even I could tell my smile didn't come out right. "I'm pregnant." Megan's eyes widened in surprise for a moment before she took my hands in hers.
Congratulations.
"Yeah, thanks." Her genuine happiness for me made my tears start to well up.
Hey, why are you crying? You're gonna be a mom now. Pull yourself together.
Megan gave me a warm smile, but I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. She moved to sit next to me and gently rubbed my back until I calmed down.
What's wrong? Those don't seem like happy tears.
Once I finally settled down, Megan asked. She's always been sharp, and she's always been on my side. As I told her about Michael's reaction and how he hadn't contacted me since, her expression slowly turned to anger. By the time I finished, she looked dead serious.
Catherine, do you still love him, even after all that?
I think I do. That's why I wanted him to be happy about the pregnancy and think about our future together. Yeah, I think I do. Maybe he's just overwhelmed. Maybe once the baby's born, he'll step up as a father. I want to believe that.
Got it. Leave it to me.
Megan answered confidently and squeezed my hand again.
You just focus on resting. You're the only one who can protect this baby.
Her words didn't erase all my worries, but they did give me strength. That night, for the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. Then, a few days later, Michael called.
Megan told me everything. It's definitely my kid, so I'll take responsibility.
I don't know exactly what Megan said to him, but knowing my smart and strong-willed Megan, she must have convinced him with logic and made him face his responsibility. Michael sounded like he had been completely straightened out. Take responsibility? How? I knew what he meant, but I wanted to hear it from him.
Let's get married.
It wasn't the most romantic proposal, but I was genuinely happy. I was overflowing with joy, and suddenly, everything around me seemed to sparkle. I never imagined that this moment would be the peak of my happiness. We didn't have the money for a wedding, so we just got legally married. Michael's bandmates and my friends threw us a small celebration party. I can still vividly remember feeling anxious as Michael sat there, cold and detached the whole time, even as everyone cheered for us. I felt so guilty toward everyone who went out of their way to celebrate for us. Our marriage started out this way, distant and unsteady from the very beginning. Since we couldn't rely on Michael's income, I worked right up until I was about to give birth, then returned to work as soon as I could. Michael was too busy with music, so he barely came home. Even after Ashley was born, that never changed. Try to make some time to spend with Ashley once in a while. Michael claimed he was getting more out-of-town gigs, so he barely came home. But none of the money from those gigs ever made its way into our household. I had my frustrations, but I expected this. I figured if I just worked harder, we'd be fine. But what I couldn't accept was how, even when Michael did come home, he never spent time with Ashley. He just slept all the time. I couldn't stand seeing Ashley being neglected like that. At this rate, she's gonna grow up not even knowing who her dad is.
So what? You agreed to me continuing my music, right? Nobody wants a musician with a family. Getting married already hurt my image. It's better for everyone if she just grows up without knowing me.
There are plenty of musicians who balance their careers and their families. If Michael couldn't make a name for himself, wasn't that just because he lacked the talent? I wanted to say it, but I knew it was pointless. From that day on, I stopped expecting anything from Michael. I was able to raise Ashley while working, thanks to the support of my parents. And now, this year, Ashley had entered middle school. Ashley, your dad's coming home today.
What? Why?
What do you mean? Why? He doesn't need a reason to come home. I smiled as I answered, but I knew the reason. Michael always came home for the same reason. Whenever he ran out of money, he'd come back, stay for a bit, beg for cash, and then leave again. Michael had no one else to rely on but me after his parents disapproved of his music, and he ran away from home when he was young. I married him knowing what I was getting into. I was prepared to support him for the rest of my life. But when Michael finally came back after a long time, he plopped down on the couch and said something surprising.
Let's divorce. I'm remarrying my lover. I won't ever see you or our daughter again.
What? I thought I was used to being surprised by Michael, but this time I honestly couldn't believe my ears. Maybe my silence irritated him because he pulled out a cigarette, lit it, and took a deep drag.
Don't make me say it twice. I'm marrying my lover. So I'll never see you two again.
I picked up the ashtray and turned his words over in my mind. A lover? Since when? I had no idea. Was all that time spent on the road actually just him being with her?
You thought I came back to ask for money, didn't you? Don't worry. My lover's loaded. I don't need to mooch off you anymore. Here, take care of this.
Michael tossed the divorce papers onto the table, waving me away, and walked out. His signature was already on the papers. The witness section had the name of his band leader. Seeing that somehow made a small wave of sadness creep over me. Before I realized it, I was dialing Megan's number. She must have sensed something was wrong because she immediately made plans to meet me that day. That evening, after work, I headed to the bar where we agreed to meet. Megan had arrived before me. Sorry to keep you waiting.
I just got here too. Let's order something. Want a drink?
I could drink, but I had no interest in alcohol, so I shook my head. Megan ordered a few dishes and a soft drink for me. When our drinks arrived, I finally told her everything about Michael.
Catherine, I'm so sorry. I knew Michael was cheating.
To my shock, Megan apologized after hearing me out. You knew?
I saw them together. They looked really close, so I followed them and they went into a motel. I even took pictures. If you need them, just say the word.
She scrolled through her phone and showed me a photo. A man and a woman arm in arm, gazing into each other's eyes. The man was unmistakably Michael. I didn't recognize the woman, but she looked oddly familiar. Megan seemed to have the same thought as I did.
That woman. I knew I'd seen her somewhere before. Then it hit me. She's Jennifer Campbell, the celebrity chef. She runs a bunch of cooking classes. She's super popular right now. You've heard of her, right?
Jennifer Campbell. I remembered seeing her in a magazine at the salon recently. She had this confident, glamorous aura.
I'm sorry for not telling you sooner, but I just couldn't bring myself to. She's done this before. A few years back, she dated an up-and-coming actor, then dumped him after about a year. Michael's gonna end up the same way.
I had no intention of blaming Megan. If our roles had been reversed, I probably wouldn't have said anything either. I just needed time to process everything. I never imagined that, after 13 years of supporting Michael, he'd betray me like this. Saying I wasn't hurt would be a lie, but I had Ashley. I couldn't afford to stay stuck in the past. Ashley was what kept me strong. I'm thinking about divorcing your dad. What do you think, Ashley? I tried to sound as cheerful as possible when I told Ashley after she got home from school. I watched her closely, trying not to miss even the slightest reaction. But Ashley gave me a 100% genuine smile.
That's amazing. I'm all for it. Congrats, Mom. You're finally free.
Her excitement caught me off guard. But if Ashley agreed, then I had no reason to hesitate. All that was left was to move forward with the divorce. The next day, I went to my parents' house and told them everything. Neither my mom nor dad objected to the divorce. I pulled out the divorce papers that Michael had left behind and signed them right there. Then, that very same day, I submitted them to the courthouse. There was no turning back now. Ashley and I would move forward together. Today was the start of our new, happy life. I bought 2 small cakes on my way home. That night, Ashley and I toasted with juice.
It's a celebration.
Seeing Ashley's bright, carefree smile made me happy. Michael was barely home to begin with. So, life after the divorce wasn't all that different. If anything, it was easier financially now that I wasn't supporting him. Even though our marriage ended because of Michael's cheating, I never asked for alimony or child support. I knew he didn't have the money. Even if I demanded it, he wouldn't pay. Rather than waste energy on a legal battle, it was easier to just assume I wouldn't get anything from him. As I cut Michael out of my life completely and focused on my peaceful days with Ashley, a year passed before I knew it. Ashley was now in 8th grade. She helped out a lot around the house, making things easier for me, especially with my busy schedule. Tonight, I had promised her I'd make her favorite food, hamburgers. After work, I finished grocery shopping and hurried home. If I started cooking now, dinner would be ready just in time for Ashley's return. I climbed the stairs to our apartment, arms full of groceries.
Hey, long time no see.
I almost dropped my bags. Michael, what are you doing here?
I broke up with my lover.
Michael said it like it was no big deal, completely unbothered by my shock.
She didn't want a guy who wasn't making money. I told her I was just about to make it big, but she didn't believe me. But you will, won't you? So yeah, we broke up, and I came back.
I couldn't find the words to respond. What the hell was he talking about? I just stared at him, unable to process the situation, while he smirked at me.
Why so quiet? Are you so happy you're speechless?
If I stayed silent, he'd just keep making assumptions. I couldn't let that happen. You came back? Are you seriously saying that? We're divorced, Michael. You were the one who wanted the divorce. We're not a family anymore. This isn't your home.
Don't be so cold. You stayed in this apartment, which means you were waiting for me, right? Just be honest with yourself. Anyway, make me something to eat. I'm starving.
This was the man who cheated on me, demanded a divorce, and said he'd never see us again. Now, a year later, he was standing here, expecting me to feed him. His audacity was beyond belief. It makes me doubt if we are even the same human species. Sorry, but I can't let you in. You need to leave.
Come on, this was my place too. Don't be so uptight.
At this rate, he was going to cause a scene. More than anything, I didn't want him to see Ashley. Maybe if I let him in, fed him, he'd leave before she got home. I was about to give in when Ashley came.
Mom? Are you okay?
Ashley had come home earlier than usual. She looked at me with concern, noticing that I was arguing with someone at the door.
Hey, Ashley, Daddy's back. Wow, you've grown so much in just a year.
For a brief moment, Ashley looked at Michael with surprise. But then, her expression hardened into pure hatred.
Who are you?
Huh?
I said, who on earth are you?
Even I, her mother, had never seen Ashley like this before. Michael seemed taken aback.
What do you mean? I'm your dad.
I don't have a dad.
Ashley stared at him, unblinking.
As far as I remember, I never had one. Right, Mom?
Ashley was right. Even before the divorce, Michael was never a father. He had never been a father from the moment she was born. And Ashley, more than anyone, had always known that. That's right, I answered, but my chest tightened. Ashley never said anything, but deep down, she was hurt. Hurt by the fact that Michael had never even tried to be a father.
Can the stranger leave now?
What the hell did you just say to your dad?
Are you stupid? I told you I don't have a dad. Now get lost. Get out of our lives.
Ashley stood firm. Her unwavering stance made it clear she would never accept Michael back. He must have realized he'd lost this fight. He had always been weak against strong women, even if that woman was his own daughter.
Don't think you're getting away with this.
As expected, he spat out a cheap, soap opera-worthy line, stomped out his cigarette, and stormed off. As soon as he was gone and we stepped back inside, Ashley broke down crying. She must have been holding in so much that I couldn't even begin to understand. As I stroked her head, I felt the dam of my own suppressed emotions finally break. I would never forgive Michael for barging into our peaceful life. As I watched Ashley shake while crying, I swore to myself I would get my revenge. I wasted no time. The next day, I started taking action. Michael had thrown the word lover around so often, I didn't even need proof. But just in case, I got those old photos from Megan and went straight to a lawyer. A few days later, on my way home from work, Michael called me. I knew this was going to be a heavy conversation, so I stepped onto a quiet street before answering. Hello.
What the hell is this?
Michael didn't even let me finish before he exploded. Can I help you with something? I had expected this call. I had expected him to be furious. So his shouting didn't faze me.
That damn lawyer of yours called me. Alimony? You've got to be kidding me.
I'm not joking.
A whole year's passed since we divorced. Now you're asking for alimony. Are you insane? $50,000? There's no way I can pay that.
His voice was shaking with rage. I could practically picture him on the other end, face red and eyes bulging. The old me would have been terrified, but not anymore. Maybe you should take notes for your next marriage. You have 3 years to claim alimony after a divorce. And let me remind you that I supported our entire marriage. $50,000, including property division and child support, is a bargain. You should be thanking me.
I work too, damn it.
You did. But you spent every penny of your paycheck on yourself. Did you forget?
You don't have proof of that. I'll tell your lawyer this is all made up.
I had no patience for this nonsense. I pulled my bank statement from my bag and started reading. Rent, utilities, groceries, Ashley's school fees, phone bills. Every single payment came from my account. I have the records to prove it. Want to see them? Oh, and by the way, I also have pictures of you cheating. Michael had nothing to say. After a long silence, he finally muttered weakly,
I don't have that kind of money.
That's not my problem. Michael's earlier energy was already gone. For 13 years, I had never stood up to him. But now, I was showing him just how strong I could be. And I had all the proof I needed. I bet he regretted underestimating me. You've got instruments and equipment, don't you? If you can't pay, sell them. Sell that precious upright bass of yours. Give up music, and you won't need a car either, right? For the first time, Michael faltered. He never showed a hint of hesitation or regret when he let go of his own daughter, and if anything, he was the one who walked away. But now, being told to let go of his instruments, he was shaken.
Please, don't take music away from me. I lost you. I lost my lover. Music is all I have left.
So now he had no pride left. He was resorting to begging. But he had made such a mess of things that I couldn't even feel an ounce of pity. You brought this on yourself. Just accept it.
If I could let go, I would have already. Come on, you loved me when I was playing music, didn't you?
I actually laughed. After everything you did, you still think I love you? That's adorable. Listen up, Michael. I will never forgive you. And I will make you pay. So get ready for it. Michael was still saying something, but I hung up. If he had just stayed gone, this wouldn't have happened. He was the one who swore he'd never see us again. Yet when his lover dumped him, he came crawling back. Not once did he ever think about how Ashley and I felt. He treated our hearts like toys. And now he was going to face the consequences. At night, when Ashley got home from volleyball practice, I told her what had happened that day. I filed for alimony. I've been putting up with everything until now, but I've decided to finally face it and fight back. This might make things tough for you too, Ashley. I'm sorry. Ashley wasn't a little girl anymore. I wanted to be honest with her about what was coming.
You're apologizing already? Mom, I'm your #1 supporter. So from now on, no more saying sorry to me about that man, okay?
Ashley's words had saved me so many times, given me strength to keep fighting. And now, she was still standing beside me, lifting me up. With Ashley by my side, I could take on the world.
You two worked hard today, huh, Mom?
Yeah, I did. And I'll have to keep going. Something about the way she said, "You too," caught my attention. But I just smiled and started making dinner. She must have been hungry. How was practice today? Ashley's volleyball team was one of the strongest around, and the training was intense.
I skipped today. Had something to do.
Ashley never skipped practice, no matter how sick she was. I was surprised. I wanted to ask more, but I knew she'd find it annoying if I pried too much, so I let it go. Then, the next day, I saw something shocking in the news. The headline read, "Popular celebrity chef Jennifer Campbell steals musician from his wife and child, only to dump him a year later." As I read the article, I learned that Jennifer had hosted a cooking class the day before, with media coverage present. And during that event, a young girl had suddenly shown up. I saw the accompanying photo and froze. Amidst the crowd of students and reporters, the girl facing off against Jennifer had her face blurred. But there was no doubt in my mind. It was Ashley. The article detailed their entire exchange.
You can't just dump my father and send him back to us. My mom and I were finally happy together. But because you left him, now he's trying to come home.
Who are you? What are you talking about?
I'm the biological daughter of that failed musician you dumped.
Surrounded by adults, with everyone watching, Ashley stood her ground against Jennifer without the slightest hesitation.
My father was never home when I was little. I'm guessing that's because he was with you the whole time.
Don't make assumptions.
But it didn't matter, because I had a kind mother and loving grandparents. I was never lonely. Even when my father told us he was leaving us forever to marry his lover, I didn't feel sad at all.
Let's move to another room. This is something we should discuss privately.
Maybe she was worried about her reputation because Jennifer tried to get Ashley to talk elsewhere. But Ashley refused.
I'm not here to blame you for taking my father. But you took him from my mom, then dumped him when he wasn't useful anymore. How can someone that cruel make food that brings happiness? I came here today to ask your students that.
That has nothing to do with cooking.
My mom is kind, so the food she makes is kind too. But when she's sad, her cooking tastes sad.
As I read those words, tears welled up in my eyes. Ashley had always sensed my emotions while we ate together. She had laughed with me, cried with me. And now, she had put those feelings into words.
That's why I don't believe someone like you can cook food that makes people happy.
Ashley's voice had trembled, but her conviction had been unshakable.
Stop talking nonsense and get out of here. Your father is already dragging me down enough. I don't need you doing it too.
But the one who left wasn't Ashley. It was Jennifer's students. They quietly stood up and walked out.
Wait. Where are you all going? The interview isn't over yet.
Jennifer tried to stop them, but they just gave her cold, disapproving stares and left without a word. Most of her students were women who were engaged or newly married. Who would want to pay expensive fees to learn from a teacher who didn't even value family? It was no surprise they walked away. I finished reading the article and turned on the TV. The incident at the cooking class was all over the morning talk shows. Meanwhile, Ashley sat across from me, casually munching on toast. For a second, I almost convinced myself it had been someone else. But it wasn't. This was you, wasn't it, Ashley?
Yep. Wow, Mom, I'm impressed. Even with my face blurred, you still recognized your daughter.
She grinned, but I pressed on seriously. Don't joke around. Ashley, did you really barge into that cooking class?
Yes, I did.
She answered without hesitation.
I saw an ad saying they were recruiting new students because the class was being covered by the media. I thought, this is my chance. So I skipped practice and went.
I couldn't help but admire her. She was only 14, and yet she had the courage to stand up and take down her father's lover.
Mom got justice against Dad, and I got justice against her. Case closed.
Ashley's smile still had a trace of childish innocence. Because of the scandal, people quickly figured out who the failed musician in the article was. Michael's band started losing gigs, and in the end, he had to quit the group. With his music career over, he sold his upright bass, gave up his car, and used the money to start paying me. But it wasn't nearly enough. He had to work 2 jobs, construction during the day, security at night, just to keep up with the payments. As for Jennifer, after the news broke, most of her students left. She had once been a TV regular, but now she was nowhere to be seen. Her popularity plummeted overnight. Following Megan's advice, I sued Jennifer for damages as well. With her savings, the amount I demanded probably wasn't much of a loss. She paid right away. But no matter how much she paid, that scandal would follow her for the rest of her life. In a way, maybe she was just another victim of Michael. A year passed. I moved out of the apartment we had once shared with Michael. Now, Ashley and I lived with my parents. Ashley was in her final year of middle school.
So, Ashley, any dreams for the future?
Yeah, I want to be a lawyer. I want to help people like Mom.
That's an admirable goal. I'll do whatever I can to support you.
Dad smiled warmly. He had always been soft on Ashley. By tonight, I was sure there would be a pile of law books waiting for her.
Ashley, you'll make a great lawyer. You're smart, just like me.
You mean, just like me.
Either way, if you don't hurry, you'll be late. Ashley, get moving.
Okay, I'm off.
The 3 of us saw her off as she ran to school. It was a simple yet blissful morning.